Hey guys, welcome to episode number 582. Today is Monday, so it's Update Monday, and hopefully you can hear me because I'm in the greenhouse at night once again, and it is raining. It is pouring outside, and it's been doing that for like the last month straight. Really getting tired of the rain. It makes doing anything outside really miserable. We've got one of those stories to tell today. We also have a lot of plants to look at, plant growth to take a look at, and some new plants to take a look at. So, before we get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you want to help support this channel, you can always go check out myaquariumbox.com and betaoasis.com. Alright, it's pretty late out here. It's a late night in the greenhouse. We've got some work to do. We've got some updates to share with the aquaponic system. And if you can hear, there's no water running in the greenhouse. We'll tell the story about why as well. So, come along with me and learn how to be a better aquarist. Alright guys, before we get up and take a look at all the plants and all of the growth that we've had over the last week or two, I wanted to share a quick story. So as I mentioned, the water is not running in the greenhouse, and that's because my pond pump plugged up. Now, I had the pond pump running all last year, and I only had to clean it out once or twice, and it did pretty well. However, Pond Keeper's Screw-Ups 101, this year when I put the pond pump back in, I forgot to put a filter bag around the pump. So with all the leaf debris, with all of the pine needles and everything else in the bottom of that pond, you can imagine it slowly got plugged up over time. And luckily it didn't get clogged completely or break, but I do have to pull that pump out, tear it apart, clean it completely, and then put it back in and reset the flow of the bypass so that I don't get too much or too little flow out here in the greenhouse. Hopefully all of that will be fixed when I'm able to actually install my diatomaceous earth filter, my pond or my pool filter that I've been talking about for the past 3 weeks straight. There has not been a single day where it's been sunny and warm in which I could get outside and perform this work. And it's really starting to put a damper on things. I just wish it would stop raining. You know what I mean? I've got so much to do outside. I've got a lot of pond projects to work on. I've got to dig a trench so I can get some electrical out here long term. There's so much to do outside and I just can't get outside. It's so frustrating. But in the meantime, I'm basically going to wait until we've got a lull in the rain, and hopefully I can get that pond pump cleaned out. I've already located all of the screws to take the thing apart, and hopefully it's just a little bit of leaf debris that's clogged in it, and I'll be able to get it up and running within the next day or two. Anyways, I don't think it's going to affect anything that I'm growing. I don't have any fish out here yet, besides the goldfish that are in the pond, and they're fine without the pump. There's enough surface area out there. They've got enough oxygen that they're fine. Plants in here, the seedlings, I think they're also fine. It might actually be a little bit better for them because it has been so ridiculously cold out over the past couple weeks with all this rain, no sun, that the water temperature in the greenhouse will stay a little bit warmer with the pumps off. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully this weather goes away and we can return to doing outdoor projects in nice sunny weather. But that's why the water is not currently running. Pond Keeper Screw-Ups 101. Good job, Greg. I can only imagine what it would sound like if this was a steel roof. But twin wall polycarbonate, it's almost as bad. It's just so loud out here. each raindrop that hits that roof. So the audio quality is not gonna be great, but we have made some progress out here. Can't rain indoors, so we have been working out here off and on. I have to go inside like, you know, every half hour to an hour because it's literally like 40 degrees outside, and we're past Mother's Day, which is absolutely crazy. And it doesn't get much warmer out here in the greenhouse when I'm in and out all the time and the door's open. But anyways, we've got a bunch of rafts installed at this point. We've got all of the holes drilled for our 2-inch net pots, and we got a lot of seedlings moved out. So let's take a look at what we have planted in here and how all of these things are doing. Over here on the end we have some string beans, and I've just put the little label next to the rows of these plants so that I don't forget what's what as these things grow. But essentially for the string beans, I know these things grow really tall and they grow in vines, and I don't want it blocking out all the sunlight to the greenhouse. So essentially what I did was I only put one row on the end here. So this is like the end of the greenhouse, so if it shades out this entire side, it doesn't really matter because all of the light during the day is coming from over here. So that's why I placed these guys over here. I'm not 100% sure if they're gonna make it. I don't know how much they actually like having their roots completely submerged in water, but they did grow pretty quick from seed, so hopefully they'll hang in there and hopefully we can get some vines going. I also put the biggest, healthiest string bean plants in the little spacer raft towards the back, and so I've got 3 of those guys planted back here, and they're doing really well. I'd say it's probably about a 6 or 7 inch plant, and they've got like 2 sets of leaves so far. So these are the 3-inch net pots, and as you can see, I did stick some hydroton media around those cubes of rock wool to keep it secure, and right in the center of that net pot. So that seems like it's working out pretty well. We do have a few empty pots here on the end. I didn't have enough plants to fill all of the net pots. Some of my seeds did not germinate, and some look like they might germinate, but they're not quite ready to transplant. So we do have some empty ones, and I may actually replant my lettuce seeds in these empty slots here, because this is what the lettuce is looking like. It's not looking great. I think I put too many seeds in each of these rock wool cubes. As you can see, there's just a lot of them, and they're very leggy. As people mentioned in the comments, they're very long. They grew too tall too quickly without growing, you know, wider and larger leaves. And I think part of the reason was the first week that these things germinated, I had them inside, and they didn't get enough light, and so they were looking for light, and they were growing long and spindly. So I haven't really cut any of these back very much. I just left them as they are, and we'll see what happens to them. If they never recover, it's all right. I think I might get some more rock wool and just plant some more lettuce seeds and see how they do. The good thing is it's been so cold out, and I know lettuce prefers cooler weather, so I might be able to start some new seeds, and it'll probably catch up with everything that's already here, to be honest with you. So you know, lesson learned, but we do have quite a bit of lettuce here. This is just a little bit of the leftover stuff. Now, these plants are really small. We've got some rosemary in this row here going all the way back, and a lot of these are very small. Some of them aren't even out yet. There might be a little piece of green in the back, and these ones in the front even, they just have like little tiny baby leaves. And I just got sick of waiting for these things. I don't know if they're actually going to grow, and I got sick of waiting for them. So I transplanted them in here. We'll see how they do. We've got some hot peppers over here on the end of this row, and I'm really excited that these things actually started to sprout. I wasn't sure if they were going to, but as you can see, we've got an entire row of hot peppers, and this one's really doing pretty well. It's got a couple sets of leaves, looks nice and strong, so hopefully we can get at least a few hot pepper plants out of this row and see how those do. Again, I don't know how much they like the deep water raft system. I know it's not for all plants, especially the ones that need more air to their roots, but again, we'll see. Over here, we've got some cilantro. I think we've got 2 rows of cilantro. It changes over to some lettuce. Anywhere I had like extra pots, I just put extra lettuce because I had a lot of lettuce, and it all looks like this. It's all fallen over, and it's got way too many plants in that one little rock wool cube. So we'll see how they do. I have trimmed a few of these back, and like the ones that are falling over and off to the side, I've been picking those off and actually eating those, and it tastes like lettuce. So I guess I did something right. But yeah, so we got cilantro here. Again, these plants look like they're doing pretty well. They just started to pop here within the last week, and we've got some plants growing up here. I may have to trim these back. So like for instance with this one, I'll probably cut this plant and just let the larger plant continue to grow. That way it's not fighting for light, and we can get some nice big healthy plants, hopefully. So that's cilantro. Then this row here is basil. The leaves are pretty tiny, but they look like they're growing slowly, but they look like they're growing. So I tried to put the smaller plants towards the back of the raft here, and then the larger plants towards the front of the raft. That way, you know, we're getting more light over on that side than we are over here, so hopefully they'll even themselves out as they grow. And I may need to space these out further as they grow as well, so we might end up transplanting these into a more wider spaced raft setup as we go. But we'll see. This is how we're starting. This raft is completely full of red cherry tomatoes, and as you can see here, we have 1 red cherry tomato plant per rock wool cube, and that's because I've already trimmed these back. These guys have grown really fast and really strong. Got a few lettuce towards the back again, but as we can see, if we look at the base of any one of these, you can see there's extra stalks there that have been trimmed back. And that's true of every single one of these. You can see the extra stalks. Those were additional plants that were smaller and less healthy than these ones. And so I cut those back so that we get 1 good plant per cube. And I think that's going to work out well. So, red cherry tomatoes. I know that the tomatoes do well, and I know the lettuce does well. So if everything else fails, hopefully we can at least get some lettuce and tomatoes. This raft is all lettuce, 100% lettuce, and as you can see, it's sort of the same story with each one of these cubes. It's just very long, spindly lettuce, and we'll see. I mean, I may give it a couple more weeks and it may actually start filling in and growing really well. I just won't know because I've never really done this before. But if anyone thinks I should just throw it out now and start over, let me know. But like, you know, these ones, for instance, are standing up tall, standing up straight, and so those might make it. But something that's just all completely fallen over, maybe those won't. So I don't know. We may cut some of that stuff back and just keep the tall, straight stuff, but we'll see how it does. And then over here we've got yellow cherry tomatoes. This entire raft basically is our yellow cherry tomatoes. And again, same story with the red tomatoes, red cherry tomatoes. They're the same size. And we've got one good healthy plant per rock wool cube. And I think those are gonna do really well as well. So we'll have plenty of tomatoes by the end of the summer. I'm sure of that. All right, let's move over and take a look at all the other stuff we got going on. So we've got 3 of these 6 Laguna bins full of floating rafts. And I think that's the amount of space I want to devote to growing aquaponics plants and vegetables this summer. But if it so happens that I need to start spreading these plants out more so that they can grow better, I've got 2 options. I can either start pulling some of those plants and giving them away or tossing them, or I could create 3 more rafts and spread all of these out. You know, just divide the number of plants that are in each raft by 2 and just spread them out into the other 3 rafts that are over here. But I do want to try breeding some fish out here if it would ever stop raining and if it would warm up, you know, past like 40 or 50 degrees. We might be able to bring some fish out here and breed those. So I do want to reserve these 3 bins for breeding fish, but we'll see. For right now, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. I've just got a bin here of various moss from L.R. Brett's, some various floating plants and whatnot, and we got some moss balls as well. Those came from Beta Oasis. Over here, we've got some more green beans or string beans. These are the ones that didn't grow quite so well, so I took all of the best plants and transplanted them into the rafts, and this is everything that I've got left over. And you can see these beans basically fill up the entire hole in the rock wool, and some of them sprouted right side up, some of them sprouted like upside down like that one, and so some of them probably aren't going to grow correctly, but the other ones did. And so those are the ones that have taken off. So some of these might be duds and some of them are just upside down. So there's not a whole lot I can do about that. You know, they're not really designed to be put in rock wool cubes, I don't think. So I got enough plants, I think, going over on the far side of the raft over there. So I'm happy with what I have so far. If a couple of these plants do end up growing straight up, then I'll use those as well. We got a couple leftover rock wool cubes here. These are just various plants that didn't sprout. I don't know if just the seeds didn't germinate right or whatever, but we got a lot of herbs, like leftover herbs here. So if anything pops up here, I'll just try to identify what it is and move it to one of my rafts. So we got some more assorted plants back here, some anubias and whatnot. Just trying to keep this stuff alive and at a relatively sufficient temperature for these plants. I know a lot of them are, you know, tropical aquarium plants, and it's not tropical temperatures out here. So I think I am managing to kill some of this stuff just because the weather isn't cooperating, but we'll see. Here we have Mr. Sweet Potato Head. Someone suggested that I try to get a sweet potato to sprout, and so I took on that challenge. This is about, I would say this is about a month of growth, a solid month of growth. This has happened really, really slowly, and I think the reason is I got this sweet potato from a big grocery store, and all of the little eyes that are usually on the side of a potato, they were all knocked off, and that's probably just so that the potatoes don't sprout in the stores so that they last longer, but it also means it's close to impossible for the plant to sprout, which is what we want it to do. So we drew a little face on it.
give us something to look at in the meantime. The roots are growing. So the question is just going to be, is this thing going to be able to send off slips out of the top anywhere, if it's going to be able to manage to find a way to do that, or if it's just going to continue to grow roots and then slowly die off or mold up or whatnot. In any case, if that doesn't end up working, what we might do is go to like a farmer's market and pick up one that has plenty of eyes on it, so that we'll know that that's going to actually end up growing. Now, we got a fun little tool here. If you guys haven't seen one of these before, this is just like a garden sprayer pump, and I'm using it for my seedlings. So I do have a lot of the same plants over here in the terrestrial version in soil, and we got this little pump, and it's got this little adjustable spray nozzle. So you turn it one way and it does like a stream, and then you can turn it the other way and it's supposed to, whoa, maybe I turned it too far. I might have actually lost the tip. Anyways, I've got a couple of these. I'll have to find the tip. I think I might have lost it in the bin. Wasn't paying attention. But use these to spray the plants. Actually, I might have another one. Yeah, I got another one here. So that's what the tip looks like. I just lost it on camera. Whoops. I'll have to go find that. But this one doesn't have any water in it. But I use these to spray my plants just to keep them moist. And eventually what I'm going to have to do is transplant these into larger, like terracotta pots and move them outside for long-term growth, because they're going to get way too big to continue to grow out here. Some of these zucchinis here are already basically too big for these little pot squares. So what we have going here is zucchini in these 2 rows here. We've got more zucchini in these 2 rows here. You can see we got some pretty good plants growing here. These are definitely going to do well. Moving right along, we've got some cherry tomatoes in these rows here. More cherry tomatoes and more cherry tomatoes. So all of these are cherry tomatoes. Those will probably go outside as well. And we'll have a little contest. We'll see if the cherry tomatoes do better outside in soil, or if they do better inside with aquaponics. So that'll be fun. And then over here in this other tray, we got summer squash, summer squash, summer squash, summer squash, and more summer squash. So an entire tray of summer squash. And the plan is, if I can get these zucchini and summer squash outside and growing in soil, in pots, like container gardening, I'm going to try to get as many zucchini and summer squash as I can to feed us, and also to feed my plecos, which is fun. And our banana plant has seen some tremendous growth over the last week or two. As you can see, we've got like a whole new stalk, whole new leaf that's coming out the top, and I think these put off 2 leaves at a time even. So this leaf is relatively new, and this is another one that's coming up. So we got like 2 new leaves here since we moved this out just a couple weeks ago, which is pretty incredible. It basically didn't grow at all throughout the winter downstairs, but it really seems like it's taking off now that we've repotted it, new soil, it's getting some sunlight when it's not raining, and keeping the soil moist. So our mini banana plant is doing pretty good. And then we got some more, some string beans, green beans, and a few other things, odds and ends, just whatever I had left. I just put in, you know, whatever little terracotta containers I could find. We've also got a lot of this pothos inside. I've been considering bringing more of it outside and planting it in the water. It's not really a high priority, but we do have a lot of that, so we can do that. Same thing with the spider plants. We got a lot of spider plants. We can move some more outside as we have space. I just want to get all of this other stuff growing and situated before I start worrying about that. And then we've got some air plants as well. And these things were drying up indoors. They weren't doing so well over the winter. So I figured I'd bring them out here. It's nice and humid. Hopefully they get warm out here, and we'll be able to grow those as well. One last thing, we've got probably like a 7 or 8 year old tomato, like upside down tomato planter. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these things. They used to be cool once upon a time. They got holes in the bottom where you can put your tomato plants, and the tomato plants grow upside down. So we'll have to test that out because we have plenty of tomato plants, and we'll see how that does hanging from the rafters out here. But that's the progress, all of the plants that we have going on in the greenhouse, all of the growth that we've seen over the course of the last week or so, and we have had quite a bit of growth, so that's exciting. Hope you guys can start to see the plan here and the layout as we start removing all this junk, and we get rafts of aquaponics plants down on the end, and then we've got bins full of guppies and live bears and other fun fish that are growing and reproducing in these ponds as soon as they warm up. I think it's going to be pretty cool out here. And of course, all of this stuff will move outside once it warms up and it stops raining. We also have quite a few juniper plants at this point, and we'll be tackling those in an upcoming video, special video with river life. So stay tuned for that. It'll be really exciting. If you haven't subscribed to the River Life YouTube channel, go take a look at what is going on, and you might get a hint as to what we might be doing with those things. Anyways, guys, that's a look at the aquaponics setup and the progress of all of our plants. Again, I apologize for the audio quality in this video. It hasn't stopped raining since I've made my last video, and this is the only opportunity I had to shoot, so this is the audio we get to work with. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.